What's up, guys? Hockey TikToky is back with an all new video. In today's podcast episode, we are discussing the second half of my preseason predictions, which is for the Western Conference. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to do my sort of guesses and predictions about how each team is going to fare in their respective divisions. So I'm going to be starting things off with the Central Division. So in the Central Division, I have 8th place, finishing the bottom of the division, Chicago Blackhawks. So Chicago has been a team that has been building up for the future. You know, they've been one of the worst teams in the league last few years, trying to, collect some really good young players, which they have. They've got, guys like Connor Bedard already there, and a few others that are looking very promising, but I don't think they're ready to take that step just yet and move up. I think they'll finish at the bottom of the division once again. In 7th place, I have the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota has kind of been a middling team the last few years, never quite in that elite category, but never quite at the bottom of their division. But in this particular year, I predict they will fall. They've already ran into a little bit of injury problems with one of their up-and-coming star players, Matt Baldy. I think he's injured already. And their other elite superstar, Kirill Kaprizov, he's kind of in a contract negotiation right now, which, we don't know, but it could affect his play. Like, maybe he'll be too distracted by that, and maybe he won't really have the type of season that can drag Minnesota up the standings. So that's why I predict Minnesota Wild to finish 7th in the Central. In number 6, I have St. Louis Blues. So St. Louis has a lot of good players, a lot of really good players, but not a ton of superstar players, like guys that are just like that next level of elite talent. There's a ton of like 20 goal scorers on their team, but do they have a 30 or a 40 goal scorer? I don't know. So that's kind of why I have St. Louis falling down into the 6th spot on the Central Division. And then in 5th, I have a quite surprising guess, a surprising prediction, one that might turn some heads. I have the Utah Hockey Club. So Utah, formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes, they struggled the last pretty much decade. They've been one of the worst teams in the league. But I think that the new move to Utah is going to energize the team up and allow them to basically have the strength and sort of the excitement about being in a new market with new fans and a new building and a new state to be playing in, that I think it'll kind of turn things around. The positivity, the vibes will be just so much better, and basically they'll be able to finally take a step forward and stop finishing near the bottom of the league and come in 5th overall. Probably still miss the playoffs. They probably still won't make it, but I think they'll at least be better than they have been the last few years. So I have Utah Hockey Club, as they're being called right now, in the 5th spot in the Central. 4th, I have Colorado Avalanche. So Colorado has been one of the top teams in the Central the last few years. They won a Stanley Cup not too long ago. They have some of the best players in the world. Nathan MacKinnon comes to mind. Some people argue that he's in that, top like 3 of the league. He might just be right up there with Connor McDavid and a couple of other elite talents. Cale Makar is arguably the best defenseman in the world, and right up there as well. I heard one quote I heard from somebody, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said Cale Makar is the Connor McDavid of defense. So that's how good their top players are, but I don't think they have the depth to really hang with some of the best teams in the Central Division. And they have some injury problems with some of their star players as well. Landeskog has been out for a while. and they don't really have any flexibility in their cap space to make any trades or roster additions. So that might hamper them a little bit in the season going forward if they have any other injuries. So that's why I have Colorado finishing 4th in the Central. Number 3, I have the Winnipeg Jets. So the Jets have been a strong team the last few years. They're always near the top of the Central Division as well. One of the best goalies in the world. You can always count on Connor Hellebuck, with his, backstopping, his goaltending. It gives Winnipeg a chance to finish in the top of the league every single year. This year, I have them finishing 3rd, right behind Nashville Predators in the number 2 spot. So Nashville has been one of the top teams. Sorry, no, they haven't been one of the top teams. They've been a middling team as well, but they were on a crazy run last year. They won about 18 of 20 games, and I saw they made a little episode of the Amazon Prime show just about the Nashville Predators because of how crazy that little run was that they had last year. So I predict they'll continue that momentum, and sort of take a step forward. They signed some really great players like Steven Stamkos, a proven goal scorer to their team this year. Even though he's up there in years and might be past his prime, I think he'll help the team kind of push forward and become a bigger threat. And that leaves number 1 overall in the Central Division. My prediction will be the Dallas Stars. So Dallas has been a very, very, very strong team the last few years. They were one of the top teams of the entire Western Conference last year, and fighting for even the President's Trophy throughout the year. I think they'll continue that momentum and finish 1st overall in the Central this year. So yeah, that's my Central Division picks. On to the Pacific Division. In number 8 spot, just as I had from the Central, the last place team from last year, I will predict it'll be San Jose Sharks. So San Jose was one of the worst teams in the league last season, and I think they'll continue to be one of the worst teams in the league this season as well. They're not ready yet. They don't have enough players, and they don't have enough talent yet to get them over the hump. They still have a lot of holes they got to fill. So San Jose, number 8. Number 7, I have Seattle Kraken. They had a great run a couple of years ago. Unexpectedly, they knocked off Colorado in the playoffs. But ever since then, it has looked all downhill. So I don't think that they're doing many things right when it comes to their roster and the way that they've kind of constructed it. And I don't think I can see any way they get any better. So I think they're going to get worse. They're going to fall down to 7th and be near the bottom of the league, bottom of the Pacific Division standings. Number 6, I have Anaheim Ducks. They look like the type of team that is turning a corner. They were really, really good for really a long time. And then they became really, really bad overnight. I think there was a long run where Anaheim had won the Pacific Division, or whatever their division was before the Pacific Division. No, I think they were always the Pacific Division, but they'd won that division for 10 years in a row or something like that. And then out of nowhere, once they fell off, they really fell off. So they're kind of back into the cycle of being good again soon. Not quite yet, though. I don't think they're ready for playoffs, but I think they'll finish just outside of the wild card spots, just a few points out, and only a few points back of my next pick, which some people might find very surprising. The Vancouver Canucks will finish 5th place in the Pacific Division. I believe that Vancouver, what happened to them last year was nothing more than a mirage. And they're not as good as everybody else might think. Their goalie, Thatcher Demko, is already injured, just as he was in the playoffs of last year. Their star players like Elias Pettersson seem soft. He doesn't have the type of tenacity to pull his team and drag his team into fights. So I think that Vancouver is not good enough to continue the momentum that they got from last year, and they will fall all the way down to 5th place in the Pacific Division. In fourth place, ahead of Vancouver, I have the Calgary Flames. So a lot of people are going to disagree with this take because they think the Flames are out of it. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. They think they'll be at the bottom of the league. So call me delusional, but I believe that they're a much better team than people are giving them credit for. They have a lot of really good young players. And they're still really, really talented up at the top of their at the top of their roster as well. There's veteran players on the team that can actually help push them forward, and then there's really young rookie players like Dustin Wolf and Zari Pospisil. It's basically, I think that they're due for a comeback here. I know it sounds crazy. They lost Hannafin last year. But they lost Markstrom. But they are a good team, guys. Just hear me out on this one. They're going to make the playoffs. I'm just kidding, guys. It's just a prediction. It could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Number 3, I have Los Angeles Kings. They have been a team the last few years that have always kind of been good but not great. I think they've lost to Edmonton the last 2 years in a row in the playoffs, and it just kind of seems to be their kryptonite, that kind of team that they just can't get over the hump in terms of playoffs, but they're always good enough to make the playoffs. They've got some good players up there in Los Angeles, like Quentin Byfield is a really intriguing young guy, and just their structure's always kind of been that tough team to play in Los Angeles. So I think they'll finish 3rd. 2nd, I have the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas, just like LA, has always been a strong team the last few years. Again, just really tough in and tough out. They have a ton of star players as well, like Jack Eichel and Mark Stone, among others. So I think they're gonna do very well again. Vegas will, and finish 2nd. And 1st overall in the Pacific Division, I have the Edmonton Oilers, my rival, if you will. But I think Edmonton's just that good right now, guys. I think they have a chance to do a lot more than what they did last year, because there was a time during the beginning of the season last year for Edmonton where they lost a ton of games, they lost a ton of traction, they lost a ton of ground to the rest of the teams around them because they were just struggling for whatever reason. I don't know what. They fired their coach, and then suddenly it all turned around for them. They went on a crazy run that was very similar to the story about Nashville that happened last year, except I think it was even better than Nashville's run. It was quite crazy. So I have Edmonton finishing 1st in the Pacific, Vegas 2nd, LA 3rd, Calgary 4th, Vancouver 5th, Anaheim 6th, Seattle 7th, San Jose Sharks 8th. On the Central side, I had Dallas 1st, Nashville 2nd, Winnipeg 3rd, Colorado 4th, Utah 5th, St. Louis 6th, Minnesota 7th, and Chicago Blackhawks 8th. So those are my preseason predictions for the year. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments and subscribe if you haven't yet. If you're just seeing this video for the first time, subscribe to Hockey TikToky for more Hockey TikToky podcasts. Thanks and goodbye.